Hi guys, this is Donna with Love Rocks, and today we've got what several people have been asking for, and that is a little girl gnome. So I've done several of these, but this is the first one that I've done on a tutorial. Let's start by saying thank you to everybody who has subscribed. I really appreciate it. It's really helped us to grow, and we've been able to push out more videos. If you haven't already subscribed, I ask you to please subscribe. It's the subscriptions that really pushes our videos out there so that we can do more videos. If you subscribe, you will be notified when there's a new video, so you'll always be able to be in the drawings. And also, if you subscribe, that is the only way to get in the drawing, is to subscribe and then leave a comment. It's very important that you leave a comment underneath the video that you subscribe to, or if you've already subscribed, because that's where the names are pulled from for the drawing. So let's get started. I did this little female gnome. I decided that we would call her Pickin' Daisies. I did her because it's spring. It's something that is very pretty and soft. I've got the pastel colors going on, and I really like doing little female gnomes. I just don't do very many of them. And as we go through this, I'll show you some of the issues when you're doing a female gnome and how to get around those. So there are several things to take into account when you're trying to figure out what you want your female gnome to look like. Let me stop one second and say I'm really sorry. When I got ready to edit this video, I realized that I could easily see where I had sketched her in, but on the video, I don't know if it's the darker color of the rock or what it is. It was harder for me to see the sketch of the rock. So I am very sorry about that. I'll do some more so that you can see more of the sketch of her, but I do apologize for that. I had no idea it was going to come out so light that it was difficult to see. Now let's get back to doing female gnomes. So there's a couple of things that's different. The first thing is that you have to be careful with the shape of the hat, because if you run the shape of the hat too wide or too thick, it's difficult to get the hair to lay in just correctly. And the reason being is because everything affects something else. So if the hat is too thick around the face and not thinned out a little bit, you have trouble getting that hair to lay in there. If the hair doesn't lay in just right, you have this weird space below the nose that's difficult to fill up. With a regular gnome, you fill it up with the beard or the mustache, and it's not a big deal. But with your little girls, you can't do that. So you have to be careful how you fill that space. And the way the hat is shaped makes a difference, okay? You wouldn't think so, but I'm telling you, go do a boy gnome and then try to add hair to it. It really comes out weird. So you have to thin out that hat on the sides. You don't have that big rounded edge on the side like you do your males. So that's the first thing. I decided I wanted to do something purple. Purple's not my favorite color, but it is a beautiful color, and I haven't done anything really too much in purple. So I was like, that is the perfect combination to use. I did add a little bit of the blue to it, and I'm not sure if I added that in the video or not. It's called Ink Spot Blue, and I added just a tiny bit of that for my darkening, for my shading, and it seemed to come out just perfect. It allowed me to keep that pastel purple in most of my picture. So as you're going through this, you're going to do kind of the same as you do with any other gnome. You're going to do the hat. Remember to keep in mind to keep those edges a little thinner on the sides of that hat, and then you're going to put in the nose. The nose is no different than any other nose. When I looked at a lot of female gnomes, there was a couple of things that stood out to me. One is that most of the female gnomes that I saw was all hat. What they do is, in order to get rid of that space below the nose, they have her looking down. I didn't really like that. So most of my female gnomes, I fill up that space with something. I did a little female, I have never shown her on anything, but I did a little female holding a wine glass. She's got this really pretty sparkly necklace on. She's got a little tiny bit of neckline there that goes down into a V. And I actually filled that space with skin color and the necklace. It looks okay. It still gets a little weird on you because it's not filled up. For me, it's a little weird. Then I did another gnome that was a female. I did this one on commission, and it was a warrior gnome. And so I did that one, but what I did was she's got more of her shield up, and so it takes up some of that space. So just when you do the female, just keep in mind, you got to figure out what you're going to do with that. Do you want it to be a neckline with some skin showing right there, or do you want it to be more of a the nose down, looking down so that you barely get any coloring at all, just a nose and mostly hat? Or do you want to put something in it? And for me, this time, I love flowers, and I love this time of year, and flowers are just so much fun, and they're easy to do on a small scale. You all know I can't hardly draw a big scale pretty flower, but little flowers I can do. And I wanted to put flowers in front of her, and it just seemed to be perfect for springtime, so that's what I filled it up with. So now let's move on and talk about the steps. So you're going to do the nose, then you're going to do the sleeves, and you're going to do the tunic or dress, whatever you want to call it, and the shoes. With the girl gnome, you want that dress to be kind of flowy. This one, I put a little much on it, so it's not as flowy as I'd like for it to be, because I put so much greenery in all of her hair. But there is a flow where it sits on top of her feet. And I did shade in some on the edges, but I'm going to wind up covering it up with, again, her hair and the flowers. And then with her dress, I kind of had the sleeves hang down around her arms. It just gives it another twist of femininity to the gnome. I wanted it to look as girly as possible. It's kind of hard to make a gnome look girly, but you can add enough things to it that it really does pull a real girly look. And this one turned out fine. Once you get the sleeves, the hands or mittens or whatever you want to call it, gloves on her, you get her shoes, and you get everything kind of filled in. You'll notice that I kind of put some of the same purple back behind her hands, and at this point it kind of looks like that's going to be part of the beard. But what it is when I put those flowers in, I want there to be an illusion of her dress showing through those flowers. So that's why I put that color in there. I did put a tiny bit of skin flesh color up there underneath the nose, and I've made it a lot lighter, and I kind of mixed it in with the purple because I knew I was going to go high enough with the flowers that when you're looking at it, you can't tell if it's skin or if it's dress, and it just doesn't matter. So when we get to the end, you'll be able to see that. So just make sure that you get all those pieces in, and just like I always tell you, get that perfect. Get it the way you want it, because once you lay that hair on, it's really hard to go back and try to fix in between the hair. So get that dress the way you want it, and you don't have to be super picky about where the dress, how much detail you put on that dress, because you are going to cover it up. But the pieces that are going to stick out, make sure that those you put a little more detail in. Things that are going to stick out is going to be the top of the shoulders when the arm comes down. A lot of times that shows in most of my gnomes. The elbows are going to show in your gnome. And then the gloves, and most of the time where the sleeve touches the glove is going to show, because they're usually holding something or doing something. I very seldom just have a gnome standing there with their hands doing nothing, because it just looks weird. They don't know what to do with their hands. And so those things are going to show. The feet are going to show most of the time. Sometimes my little boy gnomes, they don't show too much, but I do take the time to make sure that my shoes look at least like shoes and have some lights and darks on them. And then make sure that I like to make sure that the edges of my clothing look really good, because that's where I'm gonna lay those little tiny wisps. So make sure that those edges have your darks and your lights and any detail that you're gonna put on it. And then once that's done, you can start working on the hair. Now, you can see here that I kind of folded in just a tiny bit of that skin. That's what I was talking about, a little bit of the skin color. Now, we're moving into the hair. You can get very detailed with this hair. I tend to not be too detailed with my hair. Maybe as I do more and more braids, I'll get a little better. But I want to make sure, if I'm doing a blonde, that I've got at least 3 colors in there. I've got a kind of a neutral color that's going to be like your shading. So I used the Camel for that. And then yellow, because I made this particular blonde, this particular gnome blonde. And then you're going to have some highlights, which I basically took white, added it to some yellow, left it really, really white, and then added that as my coloring. What you're going to do is you're going to get it in there in the basic form of your braid. Crisscross, crisscross, crisscross. If you're having trouble with this, pull up a picture of a braid. It can be a real braid. It can be a painting of a braid. It doesn't matter. As long as it looks like a real braid, pull that picture up, because your mind is going to mess with you a little bit as you're putting those colors in. But if you can squint your eyes, look at that braid, and see the sections and how they're laying in, and form it in your head as being abstract of just a section, twisting back and forth, and lay those colors in. Again, you're always going to do the same. That top is going to have more of the lights, and the bottom of each strand, now remember that, of each strand is going to have your darks. Get your lights and darks in there. Once that's done, it's still not going to look like a braid. I took a brown and I started putting in very thinly, very lightly, and very sparsely. I didn't put it in too much. I started putting in kind of the actual edges of where that braid would be. Very, 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 very scantily, okay? That will give you the illusion of hair with the braid. At the bottom, I just kind of twisted her hair and let it loose. On the other side, I kind of gave her some wisps. And you can never do a braid perfect, so make sure you throw a few wisps on the sides of that braid. Very, very tiny, and just a few wisping out. And then you'll have your braid, and you'll have it in the manner that you're wanting it to look. Okay, now, if you look at this rock, it still looks a little weird, because we haven't got anything to cover that middle. It definitely looks lacking. So I decided to, like I said, have her holding some daisies. And I just put in, I don't know, let me see, 4 daisies. Very easy. I used my dotting tool, put the little centers in, used a small round brush, and put in the little petals. Added a little bit of shading, and then went back, and I realized I didn't like the yellow in the daisy, so I changed it to more of an orange. It pops out away from the hair. There's so much yellow in the hair, I didn't want it to get lost. I wanted something different. So up against that hair, I did use some orange. You'll notice the other 3 or 4 flowers don't have the orange. They have the yellow. We'll go back to that. And you can put any flowers. If you're really good at a different flower, put it in. You can put in any kind of flower you want with her. This was just the one that I liked. I love daisies. Daisies and sunflowers. Those are my favorites. But I can't do a sunflower to save my life, so I do daisies. Okay, once you've got your flowers in, and you get those just exactly the way you want, we're going to put a big flower on her hat. Now, I went back and forth. I looked at some bows. I looked at a flower. I looked at a butterfly because I thought maybe a butterfly would be cool sitting there. And I'll tell you, I went back and forth between the butterfly and the flower. But this one, I decided a flower would be perfect. I might do a butterfly on the next one in some sort of way. But everybody does butterflies. This one just spoke to me, flowers, springtime. So I did put that, but know that you could put anything there. You could put a couple of little buzzing bumblebees. I think bees are adorable. So you could do a couple of buzzing little bumblebees around there. You could do a ladybug up on her hat. You could do so many different things. So just be creative. Put whatever you feel needs to be up there. I put another flower. I tend to like them. I went with the same color as her hat and just did the dark. I had one really dark purple paint that I don't use very often. It's just lavender is all it is. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to throw that dark purple on there, especially since it's on the side where all the highlight was. It really pushed that purple flower out. So, and then to finish her up, after you get that flower on there, I just kind of put some little flowers around her just to kind of brighten it up and make it look, you know, like she's in a field and she's walking through and she's picking some flowers. So that's her in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoy her. I don't do, like I said, very many little girl gnomes, but I'm going to start trying to do a few more. She's fun. They're interesting. They're different. They can be done in so many different ways. So just play with it and enjoy it. I haven't talked about this a lot lately. I used to talk about it a lot. Please, if you're brand new to doing rock painting, try these. They're fun. And don't be discouraged or intimidated by what mine looks like or what somebody else's looks like. You don't even have to post it if you feel insecure about what the finished product is. The important thing is that you have a desire to do this, obviously, or you wouldn't be here. And if you can come in and try something and enjoy it, and whether you give it away, whether you put it in your own rock garden, whether you hide it, it doesn't matter what you do with it. It's something that's supposed to bring you a little bit of peace and some happiness and a little bit of fun to kind of a crazy world right now. So I really encourage you to take the time to try some of these and just enjoy them. Don't put that pressure on yourself to be amazing. It doesn't have to be amazing. I tell people all the time, usually when I try something, that's the first time I've tried it. I've never done this specific little gnome. I've done a gnome with 2 braids. I've done a gnome with straight hair with no braids. I've done a couple of different little female gnomes, but this specific one, I just jumped in and said, okay, you know what? Let the art take me wherever it takes me. If it turns out bad, it turns out bad. If it turns out good, I'll send it to you guys. So this one turned out decent, and I decided to put it out there for you guys to watch. I have numerous videos that I have finished the rock. I erased the video, and then I took the rock and I hid it someplace for somebody to find because I didn't like the outcome, and I felt like you deserved a little better tutorial than what I put out there. So please don't put yourself in that position of having so much stress put on you. That's not what rock painting is about. Rock painting is about enjoyment and, you know, just some downtime and sharing it with people who might also enjoy it. We're getting ready to come into early summer here in Texas. We've already been using our air conditioning unit quite a bit. I don't think I've used the heater in almost 3 weeks. And so I'm starting to look at some early summer, late spring type things. And so you'll probably start seeing some of that kind of stuff here coming out real soon. Because I kind of tend to paint with the seasons. So you'll be seeing some new stuff. I know I don't usually put 2 gnomes out in a row, but this one just kind of came to me. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please have a great day. Get out there, do some painting, and enjoy yourself, and give a little bit of that to someone else to enjoy. I hope you have a great week, and happy painting. I'll see you guys in another week.